Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May Brahman protect us both. May Brahman bestow upon us both the fruit of knowledge. May we both obtain the energy to acquire knowledge. May what we both study reveal the truth. May we cherish no ill feeling toward each other. Om. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Om Sthapakaya Cha Dharmasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Avatara Varisthaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. Ramakrishna was extraordinarily fortunate to have parents like Shudiram and Chandramani. How do we know? Because in his own words, he was later on remarking. See, very interesting fact, even all of us have parents. And what type of opinion we have about our parents. Of course, we all love them. That's not the, in the form of spiritual qualities, do we really have that kind of power of, high appreciation of our parents? My father, my mother was highly spiritual. Very few people we have. Very few. How Sri Ramakrishna was telling, my mother was the very embodiment of simplicity. She didn't understand anything of worldly matters and could not count money. Not realizing the danger of saying all the things to all the persons, she would give out whatever came to her mind to anybody and everybody. For this, people called her silly. She also liked to feed one and all. These are only few of the qualities. We know how many divine visions she had. That means what type of mind was necessary to have that kind of tremendous devotion to have visions. Then he was talking about his father. My father never accepted a gift from a Shudra. He spent the greater part of the day in worship, japa and meditation. At the time of his daily prayers, he would recite the invocation to Gayatri, O Shining One, O Giver of Bones, come, etc. His chest would expand, become flushed, and be bathed in tears. When not engaged in worship or other religious practices, he spent his time making flower garlands with the help of thread and needle to adorn Raghuveer. Fear of giving false evidence made him give up his parental homestead. The villagers paid him the respect and reverence due to a sage. That's why they used to stand up whenever he used to go to take bath in the pond. Nobody dared to enter into the water. They felt that they would be polluting the water, and thereby they would be polluting. How he was a householder, mind you, he was not even a sadhu. And for villagers, respect will not come spontaneously unless the person is leading that kind of life. That's very important for us to understand. And there is a remark, Gadadhar's courage. This is one of the points we were about to discuss. Extraordinary courage is needed. In spiritual life, tremendous courage is needed. Why? First of all, to lead a life purely based upon faith requires tremendous amount of courage. Our problem is we are all, worldly people. If I don't save money, who is going to save me? That's how we save. So don't you think, God, do you believe in God? Yes. And do you believe that God is going to save you? Yes. Then why do you want to save money?
But Swamiji, don't we have a duty? It depends what station you are in life. So if
No. That's what I'm telling. It is, if anybody has got 100% faith in God, there is no grihastha, there is no sannyasi. He is purely spiritual. This division, here is a grihastha and here is a sannyasi. Even sannyasins, we are also collecting money. I am talking about extreme faith in God. But until we reach that state of faith, we have to lead a good life. We have to protect ourselves. Yes, that is necessary. That's why Sri Ramakrishna himself became an example. Even though he depended totally upon God, he saved all his pension, and for the sake of Holy Mother. That is an ideal householder's life. So, what I'm saying is, there are some people who are totally dependent upon God. And they don't need to save. Like Shudiram himself, because of his truthfulness, he lost everything. So this is one example I'm giving. Courage means what? From a spiritual point of view, total faith in God means in His saving power, and He will look after me. Sri Ramakrishna used to tell the story of a young monk, if you remember, who went into a village for Bhiksha. And then he came to know God has made plants even to feed an insect, an unborn baby. So why should I worry? You know this story? Beautiful story. A young monk who was brought up by monks and who never came in contact with any woman. It looks as though he had never seen any woman. One day went to a village to beg his food. A young girl came out and then gave him food. Then this boy noticed something peculiar on her chest. He thought it was a disease. So he called his mother and said, why is this girl having this vrana, we call it, some growth. Then the mother understood. She explained, no, my son, this girl is going to get married and she will have a child, and this is the way God feeds the baby who is going to be born. That as soon as he heard it, the thought came, if God made provision for an unborn baby, He must have made provision for me also. With that, he went away. And that same story comes, one Sridhara Swami, a great saint, and he commented upon the Bhagavad Gita. It's called very short comments. Tika we call it. Not bhashya, not commentary, but small notes on Shankara's commentary. Briefly, you know this story, Sridhara's story? So he was a householder. His wife died giving birth to a baby, and this man had tremendous desire to become a monk from his childhood, but he was forced to get married because of parental force or whatever. Now, one day, about 6 months after the baby was born, he was praying to God and sitting in the porch of his house, deeply thinking, how can I become, O Lord, a monk? The baby was there in front of him. So suddenly it was a tiled house, roof. What happened? An egg of a lizard from the roof, it somehow fell down and it broke. And as soon as it broke, a baby lizard happened to come out. And as soon as the baby lizard came out, a small insect landed in front of it. And this baby lizard, natural tendency, flicked its tongue and ate it. Sridhara Swami was observing this. Then he thought, my God, he had made arrangements even for this baby lizard, just born, so that it can sustain. So surely he must have made planned for my baby also. With that total reliance, he left the home and he became a monk. And he became a great scholar and he wrote a beautiful commentary on Bhagavatam. Not only Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. Very remarkable commentary on the Bhagavatam in Sanskrit. Very short but very simple. Okay. Now what is the point of this story? Yes, observation, but more of faith. If God has made arrangements, then I need not worry at all. Our problem is not even hoarding, not even saving. Our problem is lack of faith. What happens if I don't save? I am going to die. Yes, you do whatever you want to do, but have faith that God has provided. And here also the law of karma comes into play. What is the law of, how does God look after us? How does God look after us? My point is that yes, that is also true. How we connect it with the law of karma, with the law of karma. And Sri Ramakrishna had an example to illustrate this fact. You know the story. There was a monk who was in olden days in a small forest, and every day food used to come from the king. How many of you remember that story? Okay, food used to come because the king had that habit that whoever sadhus, monks are there, he would feed them. So he came to know, and every day he would send a servant with food. One day a young man came and he met this monk, and then I want to become a monk. And this young elder monk, he received him and he gave him a very nice spiritual sermon. You know, you are a young man, a lot of temptations will be there, so you better go deep inside the forest. His motive was, if this man stays here, whatever food the king is sending, I have to share with him. I don't want to share with him. So this young man, absolutely sincere, he believed in it and he went deeper inside the forest. And next day, this old monk observed the servant had brought 2 units of food. And one usual for him, and the other was plenty. And then it was packaged also much better way than what his package was. So the old monk asked, "What for whom is this other package?" He said, yesterday one new man had come, our king had sent this food for him. Let me see. And then the servant of course opened and saw all what is called kingly dishes, royal dishes served. And the monk got very wild. Said, "What? I have been doing tapasya here for so many years and I get only roti and dal, and for this man yesterday only he came and he all this. Why?" He was getting angry with the servant. Servant said, "Sir, I am only a carrier. I don't know, but if you want I will go to the king and ask him and come back and answer you." All right. So the man went, supplied that food to the new monk, and he went back. Next day again, same thing happened. So did you bring the answer? Yes. What was the answer? The king did not really answer. He said, "If you don't like our food, you can go back for farming." So the story was, before becoming a monk, this older man was a village cultivator. And what was he eating before? Roti and dal. And what we call ragi and mudde, chatu. But this young man who came, he was a prince. And what was he eating whole life? Only royal dishes. So, if a young man, royal family is supplied royal dishes, does he feel happier?
No, same.
Every day he was eating the same thing. So for this man, in his whole life he had never seen such kind of food. And then, is it a monk's life? Why should you bother about who is getting what? Your business, you are getting it, God is looking after you, and you eat, and then you go about your business. What an observation, beautiful these things. So that is called faith, total faith. So what are we talking about? Courage. Courage means if the whole world, it neglects us, it insults us, and then it gives us up, even then a spiritual person should not be affected by it. This is the whole point. In Bhagavatam, there is a most marvelous story. I will give you two mentions. One is, the famous Avadhuta and his 24 gurus. Sri Ramakrishna also mentioned some of them. But there is another remarkable story. It is called Bhikshu Gita. There are so many Gitas in Bhagavatam. This is Bhagavad Gita, this is Uddhava Gita, and then Gopi Gita, Hamsa Gita, Rubhu Gita, and like that so many Gitas are there. So Bhikshu Gita is one of the Gitas. Gita means a song or some verses with spiritual wisdom. What happened? There was a man who was very rich and extraordinarily soft man, but he was the greatest miser. Neither he would eat, nor he would allow his own family members or anybody to eat. So what happened? Either thieves came or somebody, he lost his whole wealth. And then he was turned out of his family. Then he became a monk. And then a total change came over him. Now people who knew him, that when he was wealthy, he never helped anybody. They used to spit upon him, they used to insult him, they used to abuse him, they used to beat him up, they used to give all sorts of what is called ugly behavior, looked down upon him. Then he started singing this Gita. What is the Gita? Oh my mind, let people treat you in whatever way you want. It has nothing to do. If someone praises you, you don't react. If someone insults you, don't react. This is what exactly Bhagavad Gita 2nd chapter, Sthita Prajna Lakshanas are there. And that Bhikshu Gita has become one of the greatest teachings for any spiritual person, but especially for monks. Yes, because this is what we all should develop. As a spiritual person, sadhakas, we have to develop this. Whether you are happy or unhappy, you should not react. Because you have to think happiness and unhappiness come through what? Either it comes through karma or it comes by the will of God. So we have to, if we don't react, we have to be reborn to learn to react in that way. Why is this? Samatha, this is called equanimity. Samatha bhava. Why is it necessary for us? Simple reason is there. I am trying to put it not in a spiritual way, but in a logical way. Why is it necessary? Our mind should be in that state. Simple. You want to meditate upon God. If you are reacting to every situation in this way, will you be able to meditate upon God? What is the first condition to meditate upon God?
To be calm, quiet.
To make the mind
Calm.
very as calm as possible. And then why is it necessary to become as calm as possible? Because the image of God will be reflected only in a calm mind. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodha. Simple. And then even you can't sleep sometimes. Have you noticed? Some events you can't sleep. And then it becomes counterproductive. You know what is counterproductive? Because you are not getting sleep, negative thoughts come. Oh, I want to sleep, I can't sleep. So which thought becomes more powerful? I can't sleep becomes even more powerful and it keeps us awake. Whereas normal day-to-day life, if nothing happens, you just go there, lie down, after some time nature takes over and automatically you sleep. But sometimes you can't sleep, you are tossing and turning, and it's a common experience. So that is why samatva buddhi is very necessary. And that is one of the definitions of yoga. Yogaha samatvam. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatvam is called yoga. Yoga and samatvam are synonymous. So that is why it is necessary either not to be excited or depressed. So what does a spiritual person do? Three things will happen. Whenever these events take place, three things will happen. If he is a spiritual person. So what happens? First of all, he will have faith, since I am relying upon God. Whatever happens because of what? By the will of Shakali Tamari. Or it may be because of my own prarabdha. And prarabdha has to be exhausted how? Prarabdha gets exhausted how? By experiencing. But if we accept it, the effect of that experience will be different. That is the first point. Every spiritual person says, this is my prarabdha, I deserve it. So the moment we accept and say, I deserve it. One of our Swamis has put it so beautifully, I just remembered it. You know, what is the difference between a worldly person and a spiritual person? You know what is the difference? Very simple. Only the difference is so. So, S-O. So, you know, any event happens. What? You know, what? So if it is a spiritual person, so what? Oh, so you lost some money, so what? You gained so much, so what? You see? What? From this transition from what to so what, only a spiritual person can do it. Very beautiful. Okay. So that is, courage is necessary, because even if the whole world deserts a spiritual person or ridicules a person, he has the courage not to lose faith. You see, that is why courage is not only, the very word courage means, so you face some enemies or cruel people or unsavory, wicked people, this is only considered as or some animals. But even more important, courage to be. One theologian had written this particular book. The title of that book is The Courage to Be. And the person who has written that book is called Paul Tillich, or Tillich, whatever you call him. He was one of the greatest books I have read. What is it? Our day-to-day life, we have the courage to be, or we have the courage to follow along. You know, so many people are going, I am also going, following after them. Or the other way is, the courage to be means, I am a human being, I have certain goals in life, I am not talking about worldly goals, certain principles to follow. So, I must have the courage. If you have got any principles, I am not talking about I want to be a great businessman, I am not, even that also requires courage, because if there is ups and downs, how you are going to treat it. One of the most entertaining books I have read, a autobiography of that, you know, later on that he went against Ford. Leo Iacocca. Very interesting. How much Ford kicked him out. From next, he was supposed to become the president of the Ford company, the highest. But Ford did not like him. He thought he was his rival or something. Without any reason, he simply kicked him out. Found himself, and then he started asking, you know, how much he is telling the truth, I don't know. But the way he has written, it impressed me very much. So he said, okay, do I want to take revenge upon Ford? Because I have ways to bring him down. Do I want to waste my life in all those things? No. Then he was asked to become president of the Chrysler company. And he took revenge upon, not in this way, but this nobody was buying Ford, everybody was only buying Chrysler. In fact, there was proposition that he must stand for the as a presidential candidate to USA. He was extraordinarily organized, intelligent, but at the same time, what is important for us to be kicked from that position and how he reacted. He said, frankly, few months I was in doldrums and I was very depressed. But he said, do I want to waste my time? God has given me talent and I can show my talent. How he overcame through a positive this thing. That is important for us to learn a lesson. Anyway, so courage means courage to live our life according to our principle. So many people, what happens, if they have to tell the truth, they might lose their job, they might lose their what is called honor, etc. They might be ridiculed, and even it happens in spiritual institutions also. Yes, you can't tell to your people that you are not thinking properly, you are not acting properly. In fact, most of the what I call the spiritual institutions, like for example church, they require these old time thinkers must go. So many, they are alienating so many millions of people only because of their stereotyped old type of thinking. Anyway, courage is necessary to be a spiritual being. Without courage, nobody is going to progress in spiritual life.
Swamiji, just on that point of courage as defined as being faith in God, the other side of that coin surely is also having faith in oneself, as Swami Vivekananda said.
Yes, it is. You see, I understand. Yeah.
But without that, you won't have enough conviction.
Actually, there is no such distinction. Faith in God is faith in oneself. Faith in oneself is faith in God.
But while we are about
No, don't say I am God. You say I am related to God. I am a child of God. That is what Swami Vivekananda said. They are not two separate things. But one who says I don't have faith but I have faith in God, in truth he can't have faith in God. Because faith cannot be divided and say that in me I don't have, but in anything else I have. Such a division is not only possible in faith, it is not possible in any of the other good qualities. One example is love. Love. If anybody says, I love everybody but not myself, he is wrong. If anybody says, I love only myself but I don't love anybody, that is also impossible. Love is, this Eric Fromm is written The Art of Loving. So love is like having a specs, black colored specs. So if you have a black colored specs, whether you look at somebody or whether you look at your own self, they appear black only. You can't a division, I will look myself without blackness and I will look at everything else with blackness. That division you cannot make because it is the specs dictate what we see. So faith is like that. If I have faith in myself, I have faith in God. Otherwise, to that extent. So in another way of speaking, what is spiritual progress? Gradually strengthening this faith both in oneself as well as in God. Okay. As days went by, the boy's remarkable courage also began to show itself in various ways. His father's sister Ramshila would sometimes be possessed by the spirit of the goddess Shitala. Everyone would be afraid. But Gadadhar watched his aunt from very near, no doubt with reverence, but without the slightest fear. He stayed near and observed very minutely the change that had come over there. Afterwards he said, it would be splendid If the spirit who possessed aunt would possess me also. That's why he was able to visit crematoriums and other places, which we will come in future. The next thing, the boy's aptitude for making friends. He could make friends with anybody, young, old, instantaneously. And what is the key? A person who passes judgments. This is good, this is bad. So this person I love because he brings me a lot of things. This person never brings anything. The moment that kind of judgment comes, we cannot make friends. That means too much of selfishness, too much of calculation. That's why
It's really love. If you can love everybody, then.
And love means unselfishness. And love means non-critical way of looking at things. So a mother loves her children and she knows children's good points, bad points, but she is not critical of that setting. That is the key for that. And here is something very great, because he was not an ordinary child. That's why everybody loved him. Everybody loved him excepting wicked people. The whole village, it is written, the whole village people, let any household prepare any special dish, what would be their first thought? To feed him. That extraordinary power of attraction like Sri Krishna was exhibited there. And then his friends, they would be bosom friends. So whatever they bring from home, and he will also do the same thing. The only problem is he did not have much to share. Yeah. And this is also so beautifully depicted in the life of Sri Krishna in the 10th chapter. Everybody, all the gopis, loved Krishna, so that they are so eager to come to see. Yashoda asked, you came only 10 minutes back, why did you come again? Then they have to invent some excuse to justify why they needed to come second time. The thing is, there is some tremendous divine attraction. And what is that divine attraction? There is only one. Love. Nothing but prema. That is the one. The remarkable development of Gadadhar's power of imagination. And Gadadhar had wonderful power of imagination. That's why first point is, if somebody wants to become an artist, or a scientist, or a poet, or a writer, or a statesman, anybody great, anybody who wants to become great, what is the first qualification that is needed? So what is imagination? Somehow in our minds we have certain ideas about certain words. Now about this imagination, is what is called imagination and fantasy. These are completely opposite things. We have to separate what is imagination and what is fantasy. Unrealistic blowing up of certain things is called fantasy. What is imagination? That you imagine, oh, this car is going like that. If I can make it good, all the inventions, all the improvements, how do you think it happens? They imagine, I would like this car to be like this. Then first you set a goal and then go about what is the way to improve it, is it not? Even imagination in cooking also. Anything. You don't need to be in great position to exercise your imagination. You exercise it in anything you like. Same thing, you can make it very artistic and much more. So the greatest power of imagination is that how to be realistic. The more imagination we have, the more realism also it brings us nearer to reality. Otherwise, it becomes, what does it turn into? Fantasy. Yeah. So in any field, we must develop it. And Sri Ram Gadadhar had an extraordinary power of imagination. So this imagination also means being absorbed in whatever the person is doing. Supposing he is singing. Somebody is singing or he is singing. What do you think? He is listening or he is singing. What do you think his imagination would be? Suppose he is singing about God. What would be his imagination? Or Krishna. Immediately the imagination will fly into Vrindavan or Goloka. Krishna is like that. He will be absorbed. So it is this aesthetic sense, that is called aesthetic sense. So you know that so many instances are there. When Sri Ramakrishna used to hear some devotional song, he used to go into ecstasy. What is ecstasy? You know that whatever idea is there, it is expanded to the highest limit, and this person lives in that idea. That is called, and it is very necessary. If you want to enjoy life, you want to enjoy a book, it is necessary to imagine. Otherwise, book only can give you certain facts. This happened, this man went, he gave a slap. But a slap means what? How did it affect that person? What happened to that cheek? And what did the other person do? Etc., etc., etc. So, why I am giving this illustration? You sit and you do your japa. What is japa? And what is meditation?
Remembering God.
No, that is a very common thing. But the more we live in that reality, the nearer we will be to God. This is the thing. The nearer we come to God, the more will be our spiritual progress. And so somebody asked Swami Vivekananda, and he asked, is it imagination that you are imagining God? He says, no. You are imagining what God, what reality truly is. So long you have been living in which world? World of reality or world of unreality? Now to transit from the world of unreality to the world of reality, that is called progress in life. That is why Aldous Huxley, he wrote a very beautiful essay on these reflections on progress. So he gave 3 criteria. What is it? We discussed it many times. The first criteria is goodness. Second criteria is happiness. Third criteria is creativity. Now goodness means, are you growing, progressing in goodness? That means what? From self, you are becoming less and less selfish and becoming more and more unselfish. This is called growth in goodness. So are you much more happy now than you were before? If you are the same, maybe previously you were living in a non-air conditioned room, now you are living in an air conditioned room, but there is no change in your happiness. Then what type of progress is that? So this is definitely, now I am much more happy than before. Then what is progress in creativity? What is creativity? Again, don't get wrong. Creativity is not creating something. Creativity is looking at things in a much better way than I was looking before. Say for a spiritual person, what is the creativity? Very simple. Previously, I was thinking about certain events, people like this. Now I am looking upon the same objects in a much better light. That means my relationship, my way of looking at them has grown much better way. So simple example, perhaps we should not give that example of Sri Ramakrishna. How was he looking upon Holy Mother before he worshipped her? How was he looking upon? No. How was he looking upon Holy Mother before that Shodashi Puja and after Shodashi Puja? Is there any difference?
No.
Yes, there is a definite difference. Previously, he was thinking, of course, pure and at the same time elevated idea. He was never looking upon her as a man looks upon a woman. But after doing this Shodashi Puja, now one more question. He did Shodashi Puja, we know that. So, was he worshipping Holy Mother only on that day? And as soon as worship was over, back to normal state of looking upon her. Or was he worshipping her mentally and looking upon her spiritually as he did it? What do you think? Because she asked, how do you look upon me? And he said, what? The same, the Divine Mother in the temple. And how was he looking upon his own mother? In the same way, here also an important point. You see, the vision changes, but the behavior, there is not much difference. This is something which we have to learn. What do I mean? You see, supposing here is a Gnani, he realizes God. Then before realization of God, this world is real. After the realization of God, will this world be real or unreal? No. It will be even more real. Because previously also real, now also real. Previously it was binding him. And now it is enhancing because he sees the glory of God everywhere. Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam Srimad Urjitameva Tattadeva Avagachatvam Mama Tejo Amsha Sambhavam. Previously, I used to think a table is a table. Now I think, no, let me put it better way. Previously, I used to look upon dog as dog. Now I look upon it as God. Okay, that's what I was going to come. You brought up anyway the question. So this was the point I wanted to bring out. So what does a person who realizes God, what would be his outlook upon this world? So does the world change? The world doesn't change. A table will be a table, a dog will be a dog, a troublesome relative will be a troublesome relative, everything will be the same.
He changed.
But from his viewpoint, then he says there are two visions of God as in himself and God as manifesting through Nama and Rupa, through name and form. Yes. I will come to that. I am coming to that.
Okay.
So this is what the world doesn't change. So he should behave in the world exactly as he was behaving, of course with an elevated vision. So he will still eat food because he has got body. So he will not eat poison, saying that poison and Amrita are one and the same. He will not do that. So he will say Ramakrishna would not drink hydrochloric acid and so potassium cyanide he will not take. He knows this is suitable and for this body he will do that. But at the same time he knows these things are, name and form are always changing. Changeable things accepted as changeable things. So the point I am telling, his reaction to the world will be perfect. There will be no attachment. And on the contrary, he sees manifestation of God in everything. Example, very unlikely, but this is there in this Ramakrishna. One day Sri Ramakrishna was coming out from Panchavati side, either he was going or coming. He saw a dog and a bitch union. If a worldly person sees that, what would be the reaction in that person's mind? What was Sri Ramakrishna's reaction to that? He said, Shiva and Shakti sport. So he will be seeing only the manifestation of God. So what is the point? As soon as he comes down from that vision or samadhi, says, look here, who are you? He will not say, I am that nirvikalpa, nirvisesha, nirnama, Parabrahma, Nirguna Parabrahma. He won't give his, he will say, I am Sri Ramakrishna, I live at Dakshineshwar and I do some such and such a things. Inside he knows what is the truth, outside he behaves exactly like, but not like any ordinary person, as a perfected spiritual being, which is outlined in the Sthita Prajna Lakshana. This is also reinforced in Bhagavad Gita. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shunichaiva Shvapake Panditaha Samadarshinaha. Panditas always look upon as a learned Brahmin, an elephant, a cow, a dog, and a eater of a dog exactly in the same light. Ramakrishna, after tantric practices, he made a very statement, remarkable statement. He said, now I see there is no difference between the sacred Tulasi and, Sajani Data, a green, some kind of greens. I don't see any difference. Ordinary people say this is Tulasi, very sacred, and this is an ordinary greens to be eaten, to be trampled down. No, it is exactly the same. So do you see the point now? From inside, everything is God. From outside, he has appropriate, correct behavior. Spontaneously it comes out.
How do we cultivate this? From where we are now?
You attend my future classes and we will, that is called sadhana. Yes, we have to feel the presence of God.
He has to contradict because
No, you are not understanding. Let me tell you what Sri Ramakrishna had said. He said, he is giving an illustration. All waters is Narayana. Apo Narayana. He said, some water is fit not to be touched, like dirty water. Some water is fit only to wash clothes, utensils, etc. Some water is fit only to take bath, etc. Some water is only fit for drinking, cooking, etc. So even though in practical life you have to observe all those distinctions, but in spiritual life you have to say this manifestation of God in different forms, but we should never lose that practice of the presence of God. But we should also be practical until we realize God. And once we realize God, you don't need to think, how do I react? Because it's automatically, that differs from person to person. How your guru will instruct you. You repeat mantra, you simply say it's a manifestation of God. Another example, beautiful example, a book has come. It is a kind of self-help book, but one of the most extraordinary books. It is called Dynamic Thinking.
Dynamic?
Thinking. Very beautifully written. And then he has given beautiful example. When he wrote this book many years back, he said that about 20 years back, there were 5-6 people in USA. They are the people who are ruling the whole of America. Like Rockefeller and all those things. He gives some names, I forget the names. Today you look at them, 20 years later, he said some people are in jail, some people committed suicide, some were in lunatic asylum. This is the change of fate because of their behavior and all those things. Even sometimes good people also something can happen to them. So he is telling what is called summarized wisdom is that we can only do what best we can with intelligence, with attention, with purpose, etc. But the future is, the outcome is totally, it's not in our hands. And a wise person is one who accepts. An unwise person is one who says, oh, this should not have happened. No, it can happen. Anyway, then he gives an example. Here is a piece of iron. A small piece of iron. What is its value? Very little, practically nothing. Then you make nails out of it. Screws, nails, etc. What is its value? Maybe 10 times, 20 times. Then you make needles out of it. What is their value? Much more. You make a scientific electronic balance. What is its value? So, a raw material being exactly the same, how we make use of it makes all the difference. So, you see, we have to be practical. So, whatever makes us, first of all, 3 things I told you. First of all, we have to see God. God. That is what is called spiritual life. If we don't see God, it is called worldly life. See matter, that is called worldly life. See spirit, that is called spiritual life. That is the first thing. Second thing, we always have to remember, when a worldly person goes through some what is called very unhappy situation, first of all, he becomes depressed. Secondly, the intensity of suffering he goes through is beyond imagination. Thirdly, he takes a long time, if at all, to recover. But for a spiritual person, whatever happens, as just now I said, for a worldly person, what? For a spiritual person, so what? It makes all the difference. But don't apply to class. I missed the class.
Looking at things, it depends on the stage of your spiritual progress.
That means we have to deliberately set up the goal and practice it. Every situation, so what? That is how we have to practice it. That is what is called practice of detachment. So the second thing is, first thing is the intensity of a spiritual person's experiences will be quite mild. Second is that he recovers very quickly. And the third thing is, in future also, he says, in future also same things will repeat. What is life? Repetition of the same events. What did you eat today? So on. What will you eat tomorrow? Practically same thing. Like Sadashiva Brahmendra, he used to take bhiksha. First of all, he will collect, in a cloth bag, whether it is rice or dal or sambar or payasam, whatever people give, he will put it. Sannyasins are supposed to do. And then he goes to Kaveri and dips it for 2-3 minutes, because all the salt, all the masala, all the things will go away. This is called madhukari. Otherwise, this is separate, everything separate. Yeah, like that tramp. One day a man was walking in the street, and a tramp came and said, "Sir, I have not eaten for 4 days. I am starving. Will you give me some money?" So this man took out $5, and said, "But don't gamble it away." He said, no, for gambling I kept separate. So a sadhu will keep, for rice separate and for other things separate. So put the whole thing and then finish it off. Okay, so these 3 things: intensity, duration, and then the period of recovery. Quickly he will recover. And the quicker we recover, then we know that we are progressing in spiritual life. Whether good things happen, bad things will happen, pleasant things happen, unpleasant things happen, always we have to face that situation. That is the truth. How we do it differs from person to person, Guru's instructions, and how much we do sadhana. Okay, for today, that much will do. Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhur Muhuhu.